Welcome to the Professor's YouTube channel. So today we're going to talk about a few things. First, we're going to talk about the receiver and the Eminifx issue. Where is the receiver? What's going on? What is the cutoff date for you to file a claim? Who should file the claim? Where to file the claim? We're going to go over all of that. We're also going to talk about the investigation that is being conducted by the Adventist Church. I have learned from good sources that the Adventist Church is certainly interviewing all the pastors that have been sued in the class action lawsuit. There were about 58 pastors that were sued, Adventist pastors. So we're going to talk about that. So first, let's talk about the receiver, David Castleman. As you know, that David Castleman was appointed to be the receiver to collect all the money that the people have contributed to Eminifx and return that money to all the investors who obviously put up their money. However, like I said before, this is going to be a long process, and I'm going to explain to you why. But before I get to the why, I have to tell you that I called the receiver. It was at first very hard to get to him. I spoke to a lady who said to me I should call Strato, and I explained to her I'm not interested in talking to Strato, I'm interested in talking to the receiver. So finally, she put me through a voicemail, and Mr. Castleman did return my call, and I have yet to speak to him. At the time I'm doing this video, I haven't talked to him. But I hope to talk to him this coming week, the week of December 5th. Now, let me explain to you why I think the receiver is not doing a good job. The problem which I mentioned earlier is that the Haitian community is unlike any other community. We get our news from specific sources that we trust. And we like to get our news in the language that we understand, which is Creole. The receiver, based on my research, has absolutely no experience dealing with the Haitian community. And the receiver doesn't have someone with experience in dealing with the Haitian community to help him do community outreach. So the receiver has absolutely no community outreach. The only thing the receiver relied on, obviously partly, is the record that he has that has named, I think, 25,000 people that have contributed money to Eminifx. And then there were probably 60,000 people supposedly that have account, but somewhat did not contribute. Some of them did not contribute money. Now, I have told the receiver in prior videos that the receiver has a budget, he has money. His job is to try to get as many people as possible who have given money to not just Eminifx directly, but also to the Adventist pastors, okay? There were a lot of Adventist pastors who were collecting cash money from people supposedly to open an account for them. And some of these people, their account actually were open at Eminifx, except that those accounts were not funded by real money. What the pastors did is take the cash money and then open an account and transfer via the Eminifx platform money to this new account, which suddenly were fake money. They weren't real money. So the question is, what is the receiver going to do? There are two issues. One, for the people who actually give money directly to Eminifx, those people have been receiving email from the receiver, and some of them have actually followed through and making a claim. But there are thousands of people who give money directly to the pastors. Those people, their name may not face on any type of record. So the receiver have to find a way to make these people whole. If he cannot make these people whole, at least these people have to establish a claim. And I'm going to tell you why establishing a claim with the receiver is important. There is a class action lawsuit. And if you give any money to anyone, I don't care who it is, it could be your grandfather, your mother, your pastor, doesn't matter whether your name shows up on Eminifx, that you have give money. If you give money and you have some type of evidence to prove that you gave that money, you ought to be able to make a claim. Now, let's talk about how the receiver can make this easy. The receiver has the power to conduct community outreach in the hope of getting as many people as possible who have invested in Eminifx to make a claim. The receiver hasn't done that. The receiver hasn't done no media outreach at all, no community outreach at all. In fact, the receiver has only made 2 videos, which I reviewed from beginning to end. And even me, like I said before, I was confused in terms of what he was saying because he was speaking in technical language. Again, here's my advice to the receiver. The Haitian community, the people who have invested, a lot of them belong to the Adventist church. And there are about 12 different locations where I have talked to people in all 12 locations, and I'm going to tell you those locations. We have New York, we have Massachusetts, New Jersey, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Maryland, Chile, Haiti, Paris, and Brazil. Those 12 locations have Haitians who have invested through their churches and Eminifx. A lot of these people don't have no idea that there is a deadline because I spoke to them. They called me. Obviously, I speak Creole, and I've been somewhat fighting for these people. And so they called me and asked me, Professor, what's going on? So my advice to the receiver is to find a credible Haitian media, and I have mentioned a few before. I think Teleimage with Valerio St. Louis, it's a very credible source that has been in the community for the last 40 years. They can put together a media bliss to try to get as many people as possible to make a claim. So the receiver has money, and he needs to use that money to try, some of that money to try to get as many people as possible to know about how to make a claim. Now, in addition to that, remember that this Ponzi scheme started inside the Adventist church in New York and quickly find its way to all the places that I've told you. And every single countries that I've told you about, they all have Adventist churches in them. And the pastors were directly involved in encouraging, talking to people, getting them to invest. Now, it would make sense for the receiver to spend some resources and getting to these church members and telling them, hey, this is how you make a claim. The receiver hasn't done that. And as I said before, this is a great disservice to the Haitian community because people don't know really what's going on. And I think the receiver has a duty to tell people in their own language, in Creole, what it is that he's doing, how for them to make a claim. And I know that the receiver is going to say, well, we have a website and the website is in Creole, and somehow people should figure out how to do it. No, this is not the community. The community needs to hear from people who speak their language to explain to them, hey, this is how you do it. And you could look at all the Haitian media, whether it's online, whether it's on TV, whether it's on radio. No one is talking about Eminifx. In fact, I'm probably the only person for the last 2 years who've consistently been talking about Eminifx. The media doesn't cover it. I know Valerio with Teleimage, I've done some interview with him. He covered it a little bit. But I think at this point in time, if the goal of the receiver is to give out the entire $156 or $150 million that he's got to all the people who are deserving of it or who invested money, he needs to pay Haitian media, pay somebody to go and do that. Because I'm afraid what's going to happen on December 18, the receiver is going to close his website saying, hey, you are out of luck because the expiration date has come and gone, and we've only get X amounts of people. So the majority of people are not going to make a claim because they simply don't know how and where and when. I'll give you an example. I was in Naples this past week, and I have met with a group of ladies, all of them, some of them nurses, working in the health industries. These people total invested $2 million through somebody else who was working for one of the pastors. And this was last week, end of November, after Thanksgiving. And I can tell you right now, they have no idea where their money is. They have no idea how to make a claim. They haven't made a claim because no one has come to their church and tell them how to do it. The pastors are not doing it. In fact, the pastors who were involved in the fraud, they haven't talked to their own community. They have not said one thing to the community. Not a, I'm sorry, not a, I didn't know if it was a fraud. Everybody gone quiet. Pastor, for example, Pastor Maisonneuve and his wife, who were very instrumental in the fraud. Pastor William Jean-Charles, who was very instrumental in the fraud. Eddie Alexander and all the people that were in the executive board with him who were involved in this fraud, no one has come forward and tell the community, or at least the church member, hey, I'm sorry, we promoted this, it was a fraud, I didn't know, but this is how you get your money. They're not doing this. And certainly I can understand why they're not talking about it, because obviously for them to do that, that certainly could be an admission of guilt, and they certainly don't want to do that. But I think that the receiver has a duty to get this word out, because there are a lot of Haitian media that we in the Haitian community get our news from, and they're online, they're on TV, they're on radio, and they all are in all the locations, all the 12 locations that I told you. We've got Haitian media there, and we've got people who actually listen to these medias. For example, the Adventist Church, they have their own radio station. There's a radio station in Haiti called Radio Lumière. All the Adventist people, Baptists or whatever religious people, they listen to that radio. Why haven't we running some ads on those radio telling people, hey, if you invested in Eminifx, this is how you can get your money. And you do this in Creole, and people will understand, and people would come forward. But I have been fighting, like I told the receiver when I left the message, I've been investigating this case since before Eddie Alexander got arrested, because I knew this was a Ponzi scheme from the beginning. So I could tell you, without boasting myself, there is not one single person who knows about this case more than I do. And having been in the Haitian community for the last 40 years, I know exactly how a community get their news, where they get it from, and how they move. So my advice to the receiver, again, please get someone to put some ad spot, to put some advertisement together in Creole, and run those advertisements in all the most important Haitian media. Radio Métropole, for example, is one media with this gentleman named Wendell Theodore, is one media that people trust. In fact, the funny thing is, Eddie Alexander, the day before he got sentenced, he went to that radio station to continue to lie to people. And right after he did that, I got a call from the show asking me to respond to what Eddie Alexander said, which I did. And suddenly thousands and thousands of people watched this interview. So I know that the receiver has been talking to people in the community, because, you know, I talk to everybody in the community. I know what's going on. I know the receiver has been talking to people in the community. And the issue is, it's not just for the receiver to do a TV interview, okay? Certainly the receiver has a YouTube channel. He does his thing on YouTube, and some people watch it, I watch it, and most people don't. I'm be honest with you. But I think what the receiver can do is actually pay those radio stations to run those ads for at least 2 months. And then you're going to see people coming forward to make claim. And the claim have to be anyone who giving money to anybody. in regard to Eminifx, these people should be allowed to make a claim, whether or not the receiver can pay, don't pay them. They've got to make a claim because they put some money in it. And if the receiver can't pay them, the Adventist church should be responsible to return that money, because they would not have invested if it wasn't for the pastor telling them to invest. So that's what the receiver need to do. That's what I've been arguing. That's what I've been pushing. And I have been saying this for the last 6 weeks, that the receiver need to do that. And I know that the receiver, after one of my videos, the receiver has contacted one of the leaders in the Haitian community to talk about how he can get interviews. And my answer to you, Mr. Receiver, is you don't need interview. What you need is constant media ad that you paid for, that people are going to listen to, because people listen to the radio station and the TVs and so on. And then you're going to see the people move once you do that. And I've already given you all the market that you can advertise on. So let's get that going, and you'll see how many people you get, because people don't know what's going on, because they call me to complain all the time. They don't understand. They don't know. No one is telling them anything in the language that they understand. So please do me a favor, do the community a favor, do exactly what I advise to do, and you would be very happy. Because at the end of the day, if most of the money, because I keep telling people this is forfeiture money, if most of that money went back to the government, the Haitian community would be very upset, because they're going to tell you, hey, you never tried to reach out to me, you never did what you were supposed to do. And quite frankly, I have been telling the receiver through this, because I know the receiver watched this, my channel. I've been telling the receiver, and I have called the receiver. So you can never say, the receiver can never say that nobody told him anything, how the Haitian community get the news, because I've been telling you. So can't say you didn't know. All right, guys. So this is really, oh, one more thing I have to add. I have Mr. Fisher Baptiste, one of the leaders also, who have been fighting this battle. He had a conversation with the receiver. And I know I've said this before to you. If you think you're going to get your money in a few months, it's not going to happen, okay? I've said to you before that it would take probably a year or two before you actually see any money in your bank account, like any check from the receiver. So the receiver confirmed this with my friend, Mr. Baptiste, during the conversation, that it will take at least another year. So we figured we are end of 2023, December of 2023, maybe you might be able to see something, a check in the mail to you, probably end of 2024 or beginning of 2025. So if you are making plan on that money to spend it or to do anything with it in the next 3 to 6 months, it's not going to happen. So don't kid yourself. You're going to have to wait a year and a half before you see any money. In addition, I did invite the receiver to come to this YouTube channel to speak about where he is, what he's doing, so we can ask him some questions and figure out, you know, what his plan is and the goal and so on and so forth. I haven't, we've been leaving each other messages, but we haven't really talked, and I'm hoping to do this week, and I will continue to update you on what I've been able to do. Now, let's talk about what's going on with the Adventist Church. As you know, there is a group of lawyers in Florida who filed a class action lawsuit against the Adventist Church, against the General Conference corporations and many pastors, about 60 pastors and churches. All of them were somewhat involved in collecting money and pushing this Ponzi scheme in their respective churches. So that lawsuit is making its way in the Southern District of Miami, Federal Court Southern District of Miami. And I understand that they've got the plaintiff lawyers, obviously, have boosted their fighting machine. They've brought in some tobacco litigators, and this is going to get very interesting. And I have to tell you that and I believe that the Adventist Church will eventually found to be liable, they're looking at close to $1 billion in damages, because when you are found liable in a case like this, it's triple the damages according to the law. So they're looking at a big number, okay? Because obviously, they knew what was going on, and they just turned their heads because they were getting tied, they were getting money, they were getting contribution from people. When people pick up their money on Friday, they give the church something of it. So the whole Ponzi scheme, the church benefited greatly from it. So they can't turn around and say, oh yeah, we didn't have nothing to do with it. They did. Now, what I found out is that this two gentlemen that you see on the screen, they are the in-house counsel of the Adventist Church and the human resources director, the person in charge of human resources. They have them and their lawyers, outside counsel, have been talking to every pastors, been asking them what their involvement. And I have reason to believe that the GCC decide, obviously, if a pastor was actually involved, they're going to have to let this pastor go. Now, we all know the truth. I mean, I have been on this case for a long time, and I have traveled from New Jersey to Georgia, to Florida, to Maryland, to New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Paris. I've gone to Paris and talked to people there in the Adventist Church. The constant things that I heard, and people said to me, Professor, I would not have invested my money if my pastor did not tell me that this was a good investment. Now, once you hear that once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, you cannot possibly say that this has nothing to do with the Adventist Church. Of course it did, because the pastors were the mouthpiece. The pastor put the power of the church behind the Ponzi scheme. They put their credibility, they put their leadership, they put their power, they put their influence. Whatever they had, those pastors put it and make it seem like that the hired people in the church obviously endorsed this. Now, this has been going on for, I don't know, maybe a good 12, 13 months before A.D. Alexson get arrested. And the interesting thing is that when A.D. Alexson and Pastor Monpremier, Pastor Jean-Charles, they were on Zoom every Thursday selling this, they didn't do it, in a basement where nobody can see them. They do it openly. So the church could not have possibly said that they didn't know, because this was done openly and people were talking about it. A.D. Alexson was traveling to different churches. He was presenting this Ponzi scheme in Texas, Florida, Georgia, New York, obviously, Connecticut, Massachusetts. He was all over the place, and the pastors loved it because they were making money on the side. Not only they were making money on the side, but the people who invested money, who were smart enough to get some of that money back on each Friday, this money, some of it went to the church. And the way that the Adventist Church is organized, they have ties that goes from the local conference to the union to the North America division. We're talking about the United States, and eventually to the GCC. So they all knew about it, okay? Now, the other interesting thing is, this isn't the first time that somebody decided to start a fraudulent Ponzi scheme, inside the church. This has happened before in the 1990s. It seems like every 10 years, there's some kind of fraud going on in the Adventist Church. The problem is that the people who are in charge simply doesn't give a damn. They don't care, because obviously the loss, doesn't affect them. It's not their community. It's, if you looked at the people, who they are, and the GCC, the 13 member of the GCC, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying when I say that it doesn't affect their community, because obviously I don't think the GCC is really representative of the people that certainly they control or they govern, because the way the church is organized. So to tell you the truth, the church is saying they're investigating this and they're trying to find out which pastor were involved. They have been talking to all their pastors, trying to figure out the level of the involvement. So to me, it's, they have to do that. You know, they have to do that because if this case were to go to trial, which I doubt that it will, because the Adventist Church simply cannot go to trial because they don't have a defense. To go to trial, you have to have some kind of a defense. They don't have a defense. And the lawyer is going to play a game and trying to say they didn't know, but you and I know the truth that they knew. Now, I have been told that if they find out that the pastors were involved, they're going to get rid of those pastors. The question is, this lawsuit was filed, I believe, in March 20, almost a year ago. And Eddie Alexson got arrested in May of 22, I believe. So the church was on notice that there was something going on. So they waited all this time to start the investigation now. In addition, they keep promoting some of the pastors. For example, Pastor Maisonneuve was promoted pastors of two churches, I believe in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And Pastor William Jean-Charles was moved from Florida to Texas and back to Florida. Pastor Montpremier, all of these pastors were very instrumental in the fraud. They keep promoting these people because obviously they were leaders in their respective jurisdiction. So they keep promoting them. So the question is, do the leaders of the church really give to them? They don't. Okay. So we're going to wait and see what comes out of that investigation. Certainly, I will continue to advise you, to bring you updates on what's going on. And let's hope that the receiver can come to the show and sit on my couch so we could talk about what's going on with the money and when really people should expect to get at least some of that money back. So meanwhile, if you haven't registered for the class action lawsuit, there will be, I believe there will be a website coming soon to facilitate it. And there will be a lot of commercials on all the Haitian media to make sure that people knows where to go and how to make a claim. But please, if you hadn't made a claim, this is the number of the receiver on the screen, address and telephone number, email address. Please, reach out to the receiver, make sure that you establish a claim. Until then, hopefully I wish you a happy new year, health and prosperity. And of course, I wish that the new year will be different. And obviously, I'm so sorry that some of you are putting your money into the scheme. And hopefully next year or end of next year, you'll get some of that money back and you'll be able to put this behind you and move forward. So thank you very much. And thank you for watching The Professor. À bientôt. Thank you.